The Dodgers took Game 1 last night behind some early offense. Tonight, the Padres look to even up the series at 8 Eastern, 5 Pacific, only on FS1 and the Fox Sports app. Now, welcome back, y'all. We are just a day away from Week 6 in the NFL, so it got me thinking. There are 3 quarterbacks playing at a phenomenally high level. Jalen Hurts, he's top 3 in the MVP race thus far. Josh Allen, he's number 1 in the MVP race thus far. And Lamar Jackson, he has been beasting, particularly in the first half. But there are small blemishes in their game that might give you cause for pause. For Jalen Hurts, it did with me. Only 4 passing touchdowns thus far this season. Only 4. I think about it like this. When push comes to shove, I would always rather fly than drive. Flying being throwing the ball through the air, driving being rushing the ball. I'm not sure how far the Eagles can go, and for me, it's Super Bowl or not, as well as they've been playing. I'm not sure how far the Eagles can go unless Jalen Hurts starts utilizing A.J. Brown, $100 million receiver, Devontae Smith, Heisman winning receiver. So I'm worried about the fact that he only has 4 touchdown passes, tied with Cooper Rush. Are you worried about Jalen Hurts or not, only having 4 touchdown passes?
Who, me? Me.
2-5.
I'm not worried at all. Philadelphia Eagles, Jalen Hurts? No, not at all. They both had big games before. One had a big game, the other one had a big game. So it's just a matter of just putting it together. It takes a little bit of time, but we'll be okay. We're doing good with 5-0. We'll be good.
Or Taylor?
Well, if you fly there or you drive there, you're still going to get there. It's just going to take you longer because you're driving. Mm-hmm. But do you still get there? You still arrive in this scenario? Because they still arrive. They are undefeated. Right. And he does have 6 rushing touchdowns. So it's not like he's just throwing and he isn't also running. He's a dual threat quarterback. We can't just erase those touchdowns that he scored, that he ran for. Those are essential. That's a part of his game. I would like to see him have more passing touchdowns, but he's 7th in the NFL in passing yards per game. He's tied for 5th in 10 total touchdowns. And he has 2 interceptions, which is tied for second fewest amongst quarterbacks with 5 starts. So he's right there with the rest of the guys. He's in the mix. It's not like he is so far and there's this huge disparity between what he's throwing and what he's running.
The rushing touchdowns count.
They do count.
They do count. That's what I was going to say. You realize 2 of his touchdowns on Sunday against the Cardinals were sneaks. He got him to the goal line. I don't care who gets credit for it after that. They're 6th in scoring offense. I'm worried about the Eagles' red zone offense. That's a legitimate concern. They're only 57% over the last 3 games. But no, I'm not worried about how Jalen Hurts is scoring touchdowns.
Okay, if we have stats, and since we've all brought up a plethora of stats, let me bring you to the one that concerns me the most. Do we have the ratio of it all? Shady, this is truly why I'm most concerned about Hurts. Eagles, it's all about Super Bowls. To me, it's about winning the Super Bowl. You want to talk about the quarterbacks that have won the Super Bowl with the least amount of rushing passing yard ratio. So Russell Wilson, for every 6 passing yards, 1 rushing yard. Aaron Rodgers, for every 11 passing yards, 1 rushing yard. But then I look at Jalen Hurts. For every 5 passing yards, 1 rushing yard. The smallest ratio we've seen is Russ and Rodgers, and they're at 6 and 11. The real reason I'm concerned is just because we've never seen it before. If I'm more concerned about stopping you as a quarterback with your legs than your arms, then I'm just not as concerned as a defender. In light of that, talk to me.
Listen, it's all about this making plays, right? If it's with your legs or your arm, it doesn't matter. As long as you're making plays, touchdowns count for touchdown passes, and touchdowns count for rushing touchdowns. That's all I care about. All these stats and all that, because we never seen it. What does that mean? Because we never seen it. What does that mean?
We ain't seen it. This might not be done.
Because it can be done.
It can be done. Well, speaking of things that are getting done, how about Lamar Jackson? He currently leads the Ravens in passing and rushing. Now, the reason I am worried is because Lamar Jackson has ended his last 2 seasons hurt. Remember 2 years ago, Buffalo Bills playoff game, concussion, couldn't make it through the end of that game. Remember last year, middle of the season, he's hurt, doesn't play the rest of the season. As a result, the Ravens fall from a top AFC team all the way out of the AFC playoff race. I'm worried about Lamar Jackson, specifically Lamar Jackson leading his team in both rushing and passing, just because I don't know if Lamar Jackson is built to take all of those hits. You worried about Lamar now?
Oh, I'm not worried at all. First of all, this guy put on 15 pounds in the offseason. He looks like it. He don't look as skinny as he did the years before. He looks good. He's running the ball. He's throwing the ball. I can never doubt an MVP. And Lamar Jackson, he bet on himself, and it's looking good so far, so I like it. No worries at all.
I'm not worried about Lamar particularly as far as the injuries go, but I'm worried about Lamar in that it shouldn't have to all be on Lamar. You want to have a balanced offense. I love that he's able to run, all the reasons we just mentioned with Jalen Hurts. That's a part of his game. He should utilize that. But you should be able to run the ball as well. And particularly when you think of the Ravens, you think of them as being able to run the ball.
That's right.
They're really not. They're struggling. J.K. Dobbins and Justice Hill, 48th and 54th in rushing. Lamar Jackson is 12th and first among quarterbacks. That's not a good balance, and you don't want everything to be on Lamar. That's not a recipe for a Super Bowl.
Yeah, I'm worried. I'm not worried about him getting hurt, though. I'm worried that the Ravens should be better at running the ball when it's not Lamar. Like, their primary running backs are struggling to average 4 yards a carry. And this is the team that, they got the big tight ends, and they use a fullback more than most teams do, and they still aren't running the ball very well. That's what worries me.
But let me ask you all, how are neither of you all worried about Lamar Jackson getting hurt if the last 2 seasons he's ended hurt?
Number one, he's put on weight, like Shady said.
Pounds.
And I know that he's gotten hurt, but at the end of the day, he's been a running quarterback his entire life. He typically knows how to avoid contact. I trust him to do stuff like that.
I hear you. Well, another guy is in the same exact predicament. That's quarterback for the Buffalo Bills, Josh Allen. He leads this team in rushing, 225 yards. Obviously leads this team in passing, leads the NFL in passing when you talk about touchdowns and total touchdowns. Now, for me, Shady, it's different. You talk about Lamar Jackson putting on 15 pounds. Josh Allen didn't need to put on 15 pounds. You played with him. 6'4", 245. He's built like a linebacker. He can take those hits. I'm not worried about Josh Allen leading his team in both because he's built physically for that. Are you worried about Josh Allen?
I'm not worried. How's that song go? I ain't worried about nothing. I ain't worried about no Josh Allen. First of all, now listen, he don't punch people, but he bully people.
Yep.
Josh, 6'4", about 245. I played with the dude. He's a beast. He takes care of his body, and he's physical, so I'm not worried about that. And although I think there's been whispers about trade rumors. Now, when you hear about trade rumors,
what do you mean?
With running backs.
Got it. Yeah, Buffalo Bills running backs.
CMC, they talking about
trading Josh Allen.
But CMC, they talking about trading for him. So I guess the whispers mean something where they kind of want to get the running game going with some of the running backs instead of just Josh Allen. So they'll probably fix that.
I'm worried for the same reason that I'm worried about Lamar, and I don't want my quarterback to have to be physical. It's nice that he is. It's nice that he can get, he's hard to take down, but you don't want to have to put him in that situation. You want to have a balanced offense. If you don't have a run game, you're relying on Josh Allen's legs, which is nice. He's able to do that, although we don't really consider him a running quarterback. He's definitely mobile. But if you take that element of the game away, now you're one-dimensional. How are you going to win against teams that are more physical? And if you're on the road or if it's a bad weather game, you want to be able to have a balanced offense if you're a championship team. So I'm worried for the same reasons that I'm worried about Lamar.
I'm worried, and I'm going to contradict myself. I trust Lamar to slide and minimize contact. Josh Allen refuses to do that. He won't slide, first of all, unless, when he slides, I'm like, oh, my God, he does know how to do it. And then on top of that, my man looks like a giraffe when he's running with the ball. He's all legs and limbs. Every time he gets hit, he's going ass over tea kettle. He's getting bent in half, just all kind of
But he's the hammer, not the nail.
I'm just saying, every single time he goes down.
But you don't want your quarterback to do that. Just because they can, that's nice.
I don't.
I thought Dak was indestructible until he got a very gnarly injury running the ball. And I'm not saying I really don't want it to happen to Josh. I'm not saying it will. But every time he does that, I'm just like, oh God, oh God, oh God, please don't get hurt.
Running a Dak.
I'm just saying, you look invincible until something happens.
Right, but it's good. It's good that he can. But you're the quarterback. You don't want to do that.
Coming up, we got to talk about the Cowboys-Eagles rivalry. It's must-see this weekend, and a future Hall of Famer on one of those teams.